Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here again with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 4 of The Legend of Korra, called The Voice in the Night. Now last week's episode was really intense, a lot of stuff happened, but this episode absolutely blows it out of the water. We got loads to talk about, so let's jump right into it. Now, one of the main tricks of storytelling is, if you want to tell and show people multifaceted characters, is to show the reader, the viewer, whatever, what your character fears most. Like I said, it's an old trick, but it's one that almost always works, and that's what we see in this episode, and it seriously delivers. And clearly, what Korra fears most is losing her bending. Now, we've seen in guys like Ozai and in Lightning Bolt Zolt that having this happen to you, having this thing that is part of your essence, your spirit, your very nature as a being taken away from you, is both physically and emotionally and spiritually devastating. It's an incredible violation. But Korra looks at this and she feels what really can only be honestly described as genuine terror. So let's talk about why this hits Korra so hard. Now, obviously, losing her bending, losing her power, that would be a really big deal, especially seeing as how, she's the Avatar. So that could really send the world spinning in a very bad direction. But I don't really think that's in the forefront of Korra's mind. The thing we have to remember about Korra and about Aang is that in one way they have, as different as they are, there's one key thing that they are exactly alike, and that is that they found out that they were the Avatar early. Korra found out that she was the Avatar when she was 4. She was a preschooler, and in the 12 years since then, she has built her entire identity, her whole self-worth as a human being, around the words, "I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it." And last week she saw, okay, this is real. There is a power out there that can apparently take people's bending away. And now this week's episode, she realizes, okay, not only is that power out there, the man that wields it can defeat me. And as he even tells Korra to her face, I can take you out anytime I want, but I'm going to save you for last. And the words he delivers to her, "You will be nothing," absolutely strike Korra in her very soul. As I said, she has built her entire identity, her entire sense of self-worth around being the Avatar, around being a bender. And if you take that away from her, what does she have left? You know what, folks? I don't have a good answer for that. And I don't think Korra does either. And this is why she is so scared. I think at her heart, Korra is a brave person. I don't think that she would hesitate, if she had to sacrifice her life. But there is a difference between sacrificing your life and sacrificing your identity, your self-worth. And the latter is much harder for any human being to do than the former. So let's step away from that for a moment and talk about Korra's personality a little more. And one of the things I've mentioned in my other reviews is that Korra's main flaw, one of the other great ways of storytelling, is to show people's flaws. And Korra's great flaw is pride. Now, let me be a little specific here by what I mean by pride. I do not mean, let's call it vanity. I know I'm cutting a bit of a fine line here in the terms of the definition. But let's call vanity, for the sake of this video, the love of having other people praise you. Telling you that you're beautiful, that you're skillful, that you're wonderful. Well, as we see with when Tarlok tries that on Korra, it doesn't really work. Korra's not about being loved and, hailed as a hero by the public. I mean, okay, if that happens, cool, but that's not what it's about for her. For Korra, her downfall is pride. It is her belief in herself, in her skills, in her power, in her position as the Avatar, that gives real meaning to her life. And that's one of the reasons why Tarlok is able to manipulate her. He tries appealing to her vanity. He tries, let's call a spade a spade. He basically tries bribing her, and it doesn't work. But when he puts her on the spot at the press conference and has the reporters basically telling her, hey, you suck as the Avatar, he's attacking Korra's pride. And she's able to resist it for just a little while, but then she crumbles. And from that moment, she's dancing to Tarlok's tune. And again, that's what leads her to joining the task force. And while she does do some good, as I said, she's still dancing to Tarlok's tune. And it goes on that she issues the challenge to have Amon fight her one-on-one. Now, I kind of have to point out here that, basically challenging someone like this and saying, fight me in a fair fight. Okay, let's take a look at this for a second. If Amon were to accept this challenge, he would be facing Korra in a place and time of her choosing where circumstances would be handing her the majority of the advantages. And Korra calls this a fair fight. I really am amused so often in fiction when heroes do go out and say, fight, do this sort of thing, and are basically saying, yeah, fight me on my own terms because that's what I consider a fair fight. No, Amon is quite clearly no fool, which is why he doesn't play by Korra's rules. And Korra, again, not being able to see past her own pride, is completely blinded by this, which leads to her getting blindsided. And then having that moment where she thinks her worst fear is going to come true. And then Amon takes the step further by pointing out, I can get you any time, and I'm going to save you for last, and there's nothing you can do about it. This takes the fear that Korra already has and makes it 1,000 times worse. In a way, Amon's won. He hasn't won the war, but he's definitely won a battle. And now Korra has that fear inside of her. And fear, it's been said, fear kills. Fear can rob even the strongest people of their power. And in a way, at this point, if Korra doesn't snap out of this, if Korra doesn't, overcome this, then he's already stripped her of her power without having to use energy bending or spirit bending or, whatever the heck Amon is packing. Korra will have stripped herself of her own power by giving in to fear. Now, of course, this isn't that kind of a show. We all know that in the end, Korra is going to find it within herself to get over that fear and give Amon a serious butt whooping. But the road to that goal, that eventual victory, that's not going to be an easy path. So anyway, let's step away from this rather heavy topic for a little while and talk about some of the other things. The lighter side of this episode. And frankly, this episode needed that. While it's an extremely good episode, easily the strongest of the series so far, there's only so much darkness and grimness you want to hit people with, especially since, let's not forget, this is a kid's show. So on the other side of that, we have what's going on with Mako and the new characters of Hiroshi Sato and his daughter Asami, played by, once again, I cannot remember anyone's name. But anyway, played by the girl who played Princess Yue in the live-action Last Airbender movie. Okay. I really don't have very much I want to say about that movie, other than I kind of wish I had that money and time out of my life back. But I will give that actress credit that I thought she was one of the better actors in that movie. And considering what she had to work with, yeah. Now you know how Kate Mulgrew feels, lady. That's all I can really say. Anyway, so one thing that I do kind of like about, and I think this is going to shape up to be a little bit of a theme with Mako, is that he looks to be the sort of guy who, given this sort of 1920s setting, looks to be someone they're going to play around with the idea of the American dream. And Hiroshi's little speech to him about how he started off as just a simple shoeshine boy. Insert your own underdog joke there if you'd like. And managed to get the one break from somebody that allowed him to basically turn into the Avatar world's Henry Ford. Again, that's the classic American dream, the classic American success story, whatever you want to call it. Despite the Asian trappings and all of this, that's pretty clearly what I think they're going for here. And I think there's certainly a storytelling potential there. It certainly gives Mako his own arc in this world. It gives him something to do other than, be Korra's teammate and help her out beating up bad guys. So let's take, and I did enjoy that little romance thing going on. It just felt very sweet. And again, just the way that's happening also sort of feels like, actually, it feels somewhat the kind of somewhat cliche thing you've seen before in 100 other movies. Poor, honest, hardworking kid, rich, somewhat lonely, socialite girl, blah 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 blah. Somebody turn on Billy Joel's Uptown Girl. Actually, on second thought, let's not turn that song on. One, it might get this video pulled off YouTube for copyright infringement, and two, yeah, I'm just not the biggest Billy Joel fan in the world. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I remember the 1980s, so let's just leave it at that. Anyway, I did think that was that I did feel like that, given they did do quite a bit of good storytelling there in a very short amount of time, and we do know that Hiroshi and Asami are characters who are going to be around. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. But, and this is probably just my nature as a naturally somewhat suspicious person, I can't help but feel if maybe everything that's happening to Mako isn't just a little too good to be true. Just to kind of throw a random idea out there, who's bankrolling the Equalist? Where is the money for all of this coming from? And how did Asami's mom die? Did she die in an accident? Did she have a disease? Or was she killed by somebody? A bender, perhaps? Completely random speculation on my part, but I throw that out there for your consideration. So anyway, let's see. What else? Oh yeah, we have the Republic Council and Tarlok. Not really, these are new characters. Obviously they're going to be around. Tarlok, obvious bad guy. I really don't think there's a whole lot to say about him. Oh yes, of course, how could I forget? We get our first momentary glimpse of what looks to be Aang as an adult. Now I can't help but think that this is obviously going to be important because, these Equalists, they didn't come out of nowhere. Something like this had to have been building for a long time. And it's entirely possible that things probably may have gotten rolling when Aang was still around. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we get to see more of that past. Because, one, it would really add to the backstory. And of course, the fans are going to want to know more about what happened with Aang and how things kind of panned out in Republic City with him and the other characters. Well, anyway, guys, I am almost out of time. Thanks again for turning into this video. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.